If you feel impatient, if you feel impulsive, if you feel like, oh my God, I just can't wait, I want it right now, ooh, then this week is for sure for you. We're going to talk about impulsivity and lack of patience and how it's ruining you. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori. Damn, it is close to fall here in the Northeast, I guess anywhere. I am super duper excited. You're going to hear me say this all year long. I'm either upset it's going or I'm happy it's coming. And I have a hard time waiting for it. So I really work on my mindfulness and staying present. And that's going to be perfect into what we're talking about today. And I'm going to go into the psychology behind it, the science behind it, and just environmentally. It's important because this isn't something that's going to change just overnight, of course, but understanding the why will help you at least start to find a starting point. I am going to provide you with an amazing worksheet that is over on the Patreon. That is where you get a worksheet every week to go with the podcast, but it is only as good and helpful as you're willing to do the work. If in fact you're like me and you need guidance, even after you hear it and see it, thanks to my ADHD, then that might be for you. Jump on over to patreon.com/the positivity experience. There you have access to every worksheet I've ever done. And if you stay a certain amount of time, there's going to be some good giveaways, not right now, but in the upcoming future. So if that's your jam, hop over there. Also, I have a free letting go workbook. If you're struggling to let go, it is very short. It is very concise to the point. It's about 10 pages. I am going to create a whole new workshop and workbooks that I'm going to offer for paid for you, but it's not there now, but it's free. So hop on over there. You will find that on my website, The Positivity Experience with an X. And you can find everything I just told you in the description of where you're getting this podcast today. Copy it, do it, let's go. And don't rush it. So this is really important before I even jump into all of the psychology and jump into everything else. This is really important on the healing journey. Now, you guys know I have clients in just about every place that you guys are listening. Oh, and somebody asked me that. Yes, you can book sessions with me. You can do it on that same website. You're going to get that free workbook on. Just FYI. Here's the thing. Her healing journey is not fast. It's not meant to be fast. You are going to be repetitive. You are going to have to stay in one zone for a very long period of time before you get tools to move forward. This is the biggest problem people have with healing growth. You want to get a tattoo. You want to listen to 10 podcasts. You want to watch 57 TikToks. You want to go and you're going to have this fast fix. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So this is where you get all gung ho. Yes, I'm excited. I'm going to do it. Yeah. I know I have to wait and until you get there. Because then that's where it becomes problematic. Because now you're like, I was ready for it until it gets really boring for you because it has to be repetitive. We as humans want what we want when we want it. It is part of the human design. It's not exclusive to you. We all want it and we want it right now. We don't want to have to do the work unless we absolutely have to. Of course, that is the success. I know you've heard multiple times. It's not just a cliche. Oh, the journey and the growth is, that's where the growth and the healing is. Yes, that destination is never the reward. That's just a mile marker. I've said this multiple times. I give you a Super Bowl ring. You're like, look at my Super Bowl ring, but you never did anything to earn that Super Bowl ring. It's going to be a short-lived gratitude for you. They're not celebrating the Super Bowl. They are, but they're celebrating all of the work and effort and dedication and getting cut and getting hurt and not knowing if they still want to do it and barely getting drafted. And that's what they're celebrating. But your issue is you're trying to rush that process. So you're not failing because you're incapable. It's your impulsive and impatience. That will hurt you in everything that you do. Now, we know why it happens, and we're going to break that down. I am the queen of impatience. It's like you've come to Oz, and I am the impatience queen. It is something that I have to work on every single day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. But mine isn't necessarily about it used to be. Oh my god, I was such an energy vampire because I needed it now, right? I needed it right now. I needed to feel better. I needed to vent it all the time. Yeah, thank God I'm on the other side of that. My thing is more like I'm working on this really great crocheted blanket that it's not just a typical blanket. It's all of these squares. You got to put them together. I did this on purpose because I knew it was going to take me about 3 months or so. And I knew I needed that challenge because I am not going to be able to sit in patience, not impatience, until I'm put in the position to do it. So I'm gotten really good with that. Honestly, my biggest thing that I'm impatient about really is fall. I know I said that in the beginning. My best time for my mental health in the Northeast, by the way, is late September. Let's say late September, October, November, December until Christmas Day afternoon. That is the time that listen, we're always going to have ups and downs. I can't pretend like all of a sudden I just cruised for 3 months, but it is the best time of the whole year. So, of course, I'm like, I want to get there. I want to get there. So, I do things. I have pumpkin stuff all year long. I go into Bath and Body. I get all of this stuff. I spend a couple $100. I get it for the year. So, I know that if I'm like, oh my God, I need fall to get here, I can light my pumpkin spice candle. This is like, by the time you're listening to this is basically like the second week of August. You damn Skippy, it's going to be decorated for fall here by August 20th. And that does good for me. So when you know you're impatient about something, you want to give yourself a little crumb, right? A little breadcrumb in a good way for yourself. So you got to know these things. But here's the sum. Here are some very, very common signs. You're abandoning your goals early. Oh my God. We're going to go through each one of these. You're starting new things constantly. You're always like, yep, going to start this, going to brand new. You're spending to feel like you're in control. You're interrupting others, which, by the way, sometimes we do that when we have ADHD, by the way. And then you're overreacting emotionally. Definitely the last one. Overreacting emotionally is a massive piece of it. Now, going back to what I said with the interrupting, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you why people with ADHD or with when your brain's going faster than how you can process it, you immediately interrupt because you're trying to not forget what you're saying. Of course, you don't want to do that. Of course, you want to work on that. You might not ever not do that, but understand that it is a little bit deeper. It's not an excuse, it's a reason. But just FYI, everybody who's doing it is not intentionally rude. We are just learning that processing to slow the brain down. But there's that piece of it. But I cannot wait to talk to you and unbox each one of those. If you're abandoning your goals early, number one, you set your sights way too fast and you're not micro goaling. You got a micro goal. I think in the early 50s, like go back a year and a half worth of my stuff. Go back to micro goaling. And I promise I will do a more recent one because somebody asked me to. You're rushing the process. Let's use, I always use Marie Kondo because it was like a true story for me. So you're watching something, and in my brain, in my mind, my house is organized and minimized. In my brain, I know it's not, but in my brain, it's organized and minimized. Now, I am working on that. It is not going to be fast like a Marie Kondo. That's going to take me a few years, and I am okay with that because it's also not the most important thing on my plate. But I remember watching Marie Kondo, which I do still fold my socks and underwear that way. So I am happy I learned something. But I immediately wanted that. I saw it, you see it, you see this. It's a 45-minute episode. So you're seeing it. She's coming in. Maybe it's more cluttered than your house. Next thing you know, it's clean and organized. You're like, oh my God, yes. Because there is scientific proof that your brain needs basically a very organized space. But to have an organized space means you have to have an organized mind because the space around you is going to represent based on your brain and vice versa, chicken and the egg. So it's like this thing where you're like, oh, I want to be organized, especially if ADHD or if you're struggling with some other things. You're like, yeah, I don't want to do it. It's not fun anymore. So if you're always setting this goal, and so in my mind, I was like, yes, I did all the things. I did accomplish a lot. And I have maintained a certain thing. I'll do a little by little as we go forward. But you got to have reality Because when you don't have a reality, and if you're chasing a goal to prove a point, if you're chasing a goal to not do the work, again, I go back to clients. I let my clients know the second, if they're new, most people have been with me a very long time. So the second that somebody's new, I tell them up front, this is not fast. If you're coming to me or honestly anybody else and you want it to go fast, you want to get through the depression, you want to do those things, then don't go through the healing process because that's not how it works. It is not how it works. I don't care how bad you want it. We all do. Your brain is not equipped for this patience thing, so you got to train it. So obviously, as things went on, I'm like, oh my God, I don't have enough time. And now it starts the excuses when it comes to the Marie Kondo thing, because I did the opposite. Always remember, and I have some professional, or that's funny, I do. I have some professional organizers as clients, and that's like their full-time gig. But I do know you never declutter and organize at the same time. So if you're decluttering and it's like not organized for 3 months, then it is what it is. The problem is I went to the Container Store and I shit you not, I spent $1,100 at the Container Store. I charged it to get super organized. Biggest mistake ever. First of all, you don't need fancy things, number one. And it wasn't really fancy. But number two, you cannot organize what you haven't fully decluttered, much like everything else in your mind. So if you're wondering why you're abandoning your goals, is number one, I think you have an unrealistic expectation of this level of happy. People have this idea that happy is joyful. And yeah, it is. You ain't gonna have that every day. I don't care how freaking healed you are. The whole concept of working on your healing patterns is to know that you're going to have adversity. You're going to have not so great seasons in your life. It's not allowing it to control you. At the end of the day, that's what healing is. Walking and embracing your triggers, because your triggers are the biggest gift that you can give yourself. Stop running from them. Stop it. Number one. Number two is accepting that this is a solo journey for you. It's great to have people around you, but don't think that they have to be dragged along on this journey or they have to celebrate this journey. That is your journey. And you will, and you must have big strides forward, but you must have big strides backwards, and sometimes bigger than the strides ahead. Because the tools are only as good as you're put in a position to use. Very important. So if you're having these goals and you're like, oh my God, I can't do it, and it's hard. Yeah, I told you this when I first started crocheting 5 years ago. And fairly recently, I've been doing these little squares and you got to have 16. And for some odd reason, I can't seem to count at all times. And I'm like, damn it. So I got to undo it. But it's not about being good. It really isn't. It's about how many times you're going to get up and do it. And that includes your own mental health. It's very important. And if you're always starting new things, oh, I got this. And I don't mean like you have good ideas. Yes. But if you're always starting new things, remember that's that dopamine. Ooh, this is exciting. I can go buy the things and do the things and yay, me. Well, we all do that, but you can't stay there. That's why, like I said, I gave myself that big project that I'm doing and I'm halfway through it. I got to do more of these squares. It's going to take some time. And I did that on purpose. Because so many times I said to myself, well, you know what? I don't need to make it a queen size blanket. I can make it a throat. Like you start negotiating. No. And a lot of times you'll spend money. We already know spending is a dopamine hit. We've talked about that multiple times. You'll need me to tell you that. And if you're overreacting emotionally, number one, you're in perfectionism. Number two, you're in expectations of self and others, and not in a good way, expectations of self. So it isn't about shaming yourself. You never shame yourself. This podcast, and if you're with me directly or any of my stuff, I am going to be assertive and I am going to be direct. Make no mistake, I am talking to you. Make no mistake. I will always be assertive and I will always put the mirror in front of your face because you deserve to see it, but you don't get to shame yourself in that position. Very often, we are just limping through life. We had unhealed people trying to raise us, and then we became unhealed, and then we're doing the same thing. That's how the pattern works. And remember what I said, you want to be your problem. You want to be the problem at all times because that is who you are in control of. Shaming yourself will never benefit you. No one has ever shamed themselves into being the person that they're quote unquote supposed to be. No one. So it's not ever about shaming it, but it is about understanding why you keep blowing your progress. And before that, you even have to know why you're setting these goals. Because if you're chasing happiness, no. If you're chasing things to not be lonely, no. If you're looking for this place of constant peace, well, you're not going to find it. But you can find a little bit of that every single day in a mindful practice, which of course we'll talk about mindfulness in a minute because it's a massive piece of it. But if you're blowing your progress, the last thing you're going to do is talk about how you can't continue everything, how you're not completing it, and da da da. Adversely, and alternatively, on the other side of that is you also got to be careful of constantly always looking to achieve, because you're looking to make yourself feel valid based on your achievements, which is a whole different topic. Because now you're coming all the way in. I got to achieve. I got to achieve. I got to hit it. I got to hit it. It's great to have goals. It's another thing to keep chasing peace through these goals. And you don't want to do that, because you have to remember how the brain works. Again, we've talked about this multiple times. Your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. These are the main things that I use with not just myself, but when working with others. Every other area too, your hippocampus and very important things. But your prefrontal cortex, that's the responsible part of the logic, planning, and decision making. And I think I told you this before, which is why you might have teenagers and you ask them a question and they're like, well, I don't know why I did that. And you're like, you're a liar. You do know why you did that. Sometimes. But your prefrontal cortex is not formed until your 20s. So think about that. If it is responsible for logic, planning, and problem solving or decision making, and that's wacky, and then add hormones, add social media, add unhealed people around you, yeah, you're going to have a really hard time processing. Reason, not an excuse, of course. And then remember what your amygdala does. That is the fast emotional responses. That's your fear, that's your anxiety, and that's a threat. So your amygdala is the one that is smart, stupid. It really is, right? Your brain is the smart. That's what keeps us here. One of the things that keeps us here. But your brain also believes what it's fed. Now, if you throw in a chemical imbalance, you throw in a mood disorder, you throw in neurodivergence, you throw those things, sure, it's going to spark that even more. But this is why that's the piece that you want to focus on, is working on understanding that things aren't always a threat. Every panic attack, every anxiety attack, you don't fight that. That's the issue. That's why your anxiety continues on and on and on and on and on. I've had critical, intense anxiety disorder all my life. I will not fight an anxiety attack. Now, I should say now. Oh my God, I used to all the time. Once or twice a week, I would go in the 80s. So keep that in mind, 80s. I would run to the hospital, and very often I was by myself because, dad was in the bar or whatever. And I'd go in, and oh my God. I'd get there, feel mildly better. They would give me a Valium, and then I'd feel fine. But I fought it. I was fighting and fighting and fighting. All that's going to do is prolong it. So it's about calming that amygdala down. But now think of how those two date. So if your amygdala's like, oh my God, what is happening right now? And then your prefrontal cortex, let's say it isn't developed, or let's say it's been developed, but through like a traumatic place. Now your brain goes, oh my God, I don't know how to handle this. We got to problem solve. I don't know what decision to make. What's the logic behind it? I don't know how to plan. Because your brain goes, we need to feel secure now. We need to feel safe now. So when those two things are working, now we're going to throw in dopamine in a minute, your brain wants that. Your brain just wants to feel okay. So you're impulsive. You want that fast thing. You want to do it to achieve it. And the patience piece of it, you're like, I don't got time for this. I don't have time for this. I just want to feel better. So when you're under stress, when you're under stress or in emotional discomfort, your amygdala overrides your prefrontal cortex, and that causes the impulsive actions. So your prefrontal cortex is like, okay, man, like seriously, it's okay. Logically, we're good. Like we don't have anything to stress about. And your amygdala goes, the hell we don't. Watch me. because your brain is in an emotional response. So it just wants a fast fix. And again, like I said, we know other things contribute to make you more impulsive, especially if you have borderline, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So at least if you understand what's going on, remember that's a reason, not an excuse. Because the impulsivity is not a character flaw. It's a brain pattern. Now, that's formed through repeated short-term relief seeking. Remember, we talked about the dopamine depletion or the dopamine addiction. If you go back about a month and a half ago, it's titled about dopamine. Go back and listen to that. I think that with this will be a really good bookend for your week. When your brain is forming a pattern, patterns are habits. Habit recognition, pattern recognition, it's all the same thing because you're seeing like a habitual move. And when your dopamine goes, oh my God, this is great. We got it. We got it. Oh, I'm so relieved now. But remember, your dopamine and short form gratification is what you're running to all the time. That's why people gamble. That's why people shop. That's why people eat. That's why there's so many things. Because your dopamine spikes when it's anticipating pleasure, not just from receiving it. This is why I told you this before. This is why the buildup before vacation, this is why the buildup before the holidays are my favorite time. The moment vacation is done or Christmas Day afternoon, it is an emotional bottom out. And then that takes a minute to rebuild. Because to me, it's the anticipatory joy. It's looking at it, it's packing, it's all of those things. And my brain goes, yay, this is so exciting. And it's great to have it. But sometimes the chase is better than the reward. And they're both equally good, but sometimes the chase is even better. So by understanding that, what that does is it's creating a loop of craving newness. We need new, excitement and fast outcomes. Fast outcomes. That's why gambling is a thing. I'd love to go to the casino, assuming that I had all kinds of money. I'd love to. It's enjoyable. I like the atmosphere. I don't play slots. I play tables. But of course, I can't go all the time because I am not independently wealthy. So every now and again I go, but it is exciting. It's exciting to think, am I going to get a pair? Am I going to get a flush? Well, and so that's also what they, side note, that is also what they play on. So you have to be real disciplined to say, this is what I'm willing to lose. You never go in thinking you're going to win. This is what I'm capable of losing. And do not go to an ATM or go get more. Then we talk about problems, but just side note. So your brain says, I love something new. I love new. I love fast. Who doesn't want to live in a place of excitement and joy all the time? Well, we all would. That's also not real life. Then you go on dopamine depletion, then you go on adrenal fatigue. So if you're scrolling, if you're spending, if you're texting, if you're quitting your goals, it gives you a dopamine hit. It really does. But that's depleting your long-term focus. You guys know, unless you're new, I'm telling you here, I don't scroll social media. I understand the negatives to it. I work with people who have YouTube subscribers in the millions, like tons of millions. And I work with them on getting unaddicted to social media and their numbers and other things. I am way more joyful without doom scrolling. Now, where can you balance that? Because everything has to have a balance. I go on with specific things. So if I go on, and I don't typically go on TikTok because I just don't. I do and I don't, but it's a thing. So I'll look at a long form video. I like to see reviews. Hey, if I'm going to buy this phone, whatever, I do like to see reviews. Is it a new pattern? I want to look at the pattern. Is it a new recipe? Want to see a recipe? Oh, I need to go on Michaela's page so I can see her do an eyeshadow. That's fine. You're doing something with intention. But what you're not going to do, or what I don't do, is I don't lay and just scroll endlessly because your brain says, I don't want to go clean. What? I don't want to work out. That's not fun. I want to sit here and do this. Ha 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 ha. It's funny. Ooh, TikTok shop. Ooh, let's do this. Let's buy. Well, yeah, well, that's why they do it. But this is what's happening to your brain. So of course you're going to be impulsive because now you're many other things. But now you're impulsive because you're comparing yourself. I should be further along. I should do this. So impulsively, because you don't want to be alone for the rest of your life, you decide you want a relationship. Well, now you're missing red flags. You're jumping into relationships that will never serve your best and highest good. And don't let someone use, oh, you'll be alone, as though it's a bad thing. Oh, you're end up alone. Well, good. How else am I going to know myself? It is always funny when people go, oh, you'll be the crazy cat lady. Okay, well, I don't know why you're saying that like it's a negative, because that's what people think. So if you're again, quitting a goal, even though you don't like it and you will beat yourself up, that means that you get to start again with something else. So when you understand why that's happening, maybe you'll give yourself a little bit more compassion, but understand that there's science behind it. And it's also psychological conditioning. You have to remember, we are conditioned early in life. If you were rewarded, God, I can't say that word, for fast action over deep work, of course, fast action and getting rewarded for it over deep work, of course you're going to want fast action. It also gets it done with. Did adult mode panic or get reactive over patience? Were they more reactive around you, right? Because environmentally, you start to see a pattern and you start thinking, this is what we're supposed to do. So were the people around you impatient? Could you see the impatience? Did you feel the energetic pull of this impatience? Were you on the other side of that? So you're mimicking that because you can see how that's what was needed. Survival based on fix it now responses is a massive piece of this. I have to fix this now. People pleasing. Oh my God, especially when you're younger, I got to fix this now. Oh my God, I don't know. Everybody around me is it's chaos. I need to fix this right now, which, by the way, it's not your job. Side note. So, of course, you're always chasing that immediate. But you're going to keep chasing it. And then you'll never, ever, ever sit in a space of contentment. I don't want you to live in contentment. Still got to have goals, but in contentment of self, being able to sit down outside or sit down on the couch and watch TV, not feel activated like you got to go do something, not worrying about anybody else's emotional state about your boundaries. But that comes with time. Time. I don't care that you don't like it. I don't care that you want it to be fast. Been there, done that, bought the shirt, took the trip. It doesn't work that way. So I don't care how you want it to be. It isn't that way. So if you go, God, this is repetitive, like if you're working with me or anybody else, oh, this is repetitive. Yes, it is repetitive. Yes, because we have to uncondition what you've done. And now you're trying to be impulsive and impatient in healing. So you can't say you want to get better. You want to be more patient, but then you're impatient about being more patient. That's where it's the chicken and the egg. There's also generational modeling. Because again, if you're looking at it and it's inherited emotionally through your unregulated caregivers and theirs and theirs and theirs, remember, you're only going to have the tools and the knowledge of the people who raised us or our caregivers. Most of them were unhealed. Sometimes we're unhealed. The goal in parenting, screw your kids up 1/10 of a tenth of a tenth less than you. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to screw your kids up. Even if you did everything, dotted the I's, crossed the T's, you don't get to determine how somebody sees it. Maybe what you see is making sure none of that happens. They see is control. And you don't get to decide what that is. So you try to do the best you can with what you have and understand that people are individual and they're going to see things very differently. Now, if kids are constantly rushed or not emotionally validated during that time, you're going to go into reactive adults. Funny story, real story. I wouldn't say funny, haha, just annoyingly funny. My dad was always impatient. You know, he's a drinker, he's emotional unstable. Okay, he was always impatient. There was a restaurant called the Hot Shops. And we'd go for lunch or breakfast every now and again, because trust me, we got the big block of cheese when you stood in line. And okay, so every now and again, we'd go out to eat. My dad was the most impatient person. And it wasn't a good experience. It would be for like 5 seconds. But if the salt wasn't on the table, he'd be like, hey, I need some salt. Like everything was just very aggressive and very fast. And I learned to eat very fast to the point where it is something I'm mindful of. I have to be mindful of today because Paul will sometimes say, okay, you're doing that thing again. Because I always say, point it out. It's literally like I have 5 minutes to eat because once dad was done, it was like, okay, hurry up, let's wrap this up. And you're like, oh God, okay. So you're shoveling food in your mouth. And I'm not saying that's what created my binge eating disorder. I'm not saying that because there was many other things. But the whole concept of hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, not just of that, with anything else. So, of course, you're going to get reactive because you're in that emotional response. So, if you were always rushed and you always seen things, this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen, what do you think's going to happen? You don't think you're going to be impatient? Which is why you're deprogramming your programs. Impatience is also emotional intolerance. This is avoidance 101. Discomfort with stillness, not having control, or the fear of missing out is what's screwing you. The hell do you think you're missing out on? That's your big problem with scrolling. I'm missing out on things. You're not missing out. You're not missing out. We're overloaded with everything as it is. So just because your insecurity kicks in, your attachments kick in, does not mean that you're missing anything. That's in your head. If you're not comfortable, feeling uncomfortable, you will stay in this cycle of trying to get healed and only making so much progress. Go back to probably again about a month and a half, 2 months ago. I did one on feeling your feelings. What does that actually mean, sitting with your feelings? Go back and listen to that too. And if you're on Patreon, make sure you pull out both of those worksheets and put that with this one. And I think you'll get a big, recharge for that. But that is the thing. If you are not willing to be uncomfortable, if you are not willing to hear yourself, if you got to stop running from yourself. You got to stop busying yourself. You got to stop focusing on everybody else's why and I don't understand because you're avoiding yourself. You're avoiding yourself. It's that's 101 and we know that. So you probably know that piece of it, but then just because you know it, you got to sit in it. You got to sit in it. Stop looking for this healed version of yourself. Because again, if I gave you a magic wand, made sure your health was amazing, everybody around you was amazing, all your bills were paid, everything is grand. You're only going to maintain that for so long because you don't have the tools. So now you're like, this is great. I don't have any of these. Okay, guess what? You're still dealing with emotional avoidance. You're still dealing with insecurity. You're still dealing with other things. So you think just because you dotted every I that you ever wanted, suddenly that's gone? No. And that's why it's the journey. We would all love to be independently wealthy. Well, until you know how to manage your emotions, how to not be impulsive, how not to go down a shopping, gambling, whatever path, it doesn't matter. You're only going to maintain that for so long. So be careful of saying, if I had this, I would be happy. It's funny because Paul and I were just talking about this. And we don't talk like about clients and stuff, but he does know I have a lot of high-end clients. Some are celebrities. And we were just recently talking about how it'd be great to have a retirement, great to have those things. But even those who have it, and sometimes those who have it need it even more because I'm kind of on call at some point. So don't think that it's going to free up some stress, but that doesn't mean that everything that you're seeking just gets better. Does not work that way. So if you're impatient, you're resisting the emotional intolerance or the emotional tolerance. And that's why you're self-sabotaging. If you're abandoning your goals as soon as it's getting boring or hard, boom, sabotage. Sabotage. It's not fun. It's not easy. It's not fast. You don't want to have to sit there and learn and learn. And in my case, go through crochet patterns, spend 7 hours doing something only to have to undo it all. Okay. Well, I guess I could be like, screw it. I'm not going to do that. For what? I'm actually very good. But even very good crocheters or speakers or authors or actors, you're not always going to, you got to stop with this perfection bullshit because that's kicking you too. If you are obsessed with starting over every Monday, oh my God, This is big for dieting culture. Because again, you guys know I used to be a trainer, personal trainer years ago in my early 20s. I'm in my 50s. So, but luckily I do still have that knowledge, which helps me understand the manipulation of my body when needed, as far as like at the gym. But if you have that, okay, Monday, I am starting fresh Monday. It's great. Let's say it's eating, whatever it is. Let's just say working out. Okay, I'm good. I got all my stuff. I laid my stuff out. Boom, meal prepped. Life is great. But mind you, you're already going into it the wrong viewpoint. You never, ever, ever go to the gym to lose weight. You never, ever, ever eat healthier to lose weight. You're going to the gym to be stronger because your muscles and your bones need that as you get older. You're eating healthier because you're just trying to make sure that you're as healthy as you can control. That being said, if you want the ice cream, you want the cake, go get it, baby. But don't go because you're going to rush this weight loss thing. So now you go in and you're strict. I'm going to do keto. I'm going to do this. I am cutting my calories because you're going into it the wrong idea, the wrong intentions. So you're good Monday, maybe Tuesday. Let's be crazy and say Wednesday. And then you go out with some friends at happy hour, and in your mind, you're like, great, I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get some steamed shrimp. It's going to be great. And you go to Mexican and they put the tortilla chips on there and you're like, nope, I'm good. I am good. You're so proud of yourself. You're like, I am good, because you've already villainized food. Wrong. We're not going to villainize food. So you go, oh, I'm just going to have one chip. So you grab one chip because now you've put this off, like, oh my God, it's taboo. And you have it. And then you're like, screw it. Now you go down this rabbit hole, you binge it all out. And then you just say, screw it now till Sunday, because Monday you're going to start over again. No. If you're making money decisions for short-term dopamine versus long-term stability, and that's going to be big based on wherever you are in your disorders or whatever you got going on. If you feel guilty after you react, spend, lash out, or ghost people. If you feel guilty, we know what's happening here. If you call it intuition, but it's actually anxiety, meaning, well, I don't know if I can do that. No. If you're not pushing through fear, that's a problem. It is not your anxiety in making the decisions. It's you avoiding feeling the anxiety. Let's repeat that. It's not your anxiety making the decisions. It's your avoidance of feeling the anxiety. And that's why your polyvagal theory and hyperarousal, this all goes into other parts of your nervous system and the regulation and dysregulation. Your fight or flight states make patients feel dangerous. Like, oh my God. Because it's forcing you to sit with yourself. It's forcing you to face the insecurities. It's forcing you to face the triggers. It's forcing you to deconstruct the sentences of, you got to hurry, you're never going to be anything. In high arousal states, your impulsivity becomes survival. Fix it now so I feel safe. We understand this does come from trauma, but you are here today listening to this podcast, which means you are responsible today for the things you didn't ask for when you were younger, but you are here today. And don't rush, quote unquote, fixing yourself either. It is a process. Are you willing to distance from the people who aren't serving you? Maybe it's family. Are you willing to be uncomfortable? Are you willing to be assertive? Are you willing to piss people off and be the villain? And there's not a time you're just going to be like, you know what? Yep, I'm ready now. No, you got to do it. You got to do it now, regardless of how you feel about it. So if you are in that place of rest, that requires safety. So if you never felt safe resting or slowing down, stillness is going to feel like laziness, even if it's what you need. Because maybe you saw mom or dad or whomever would never want to sit still because they didn't want to, oh, lazy. You heard lazy is sitting still. Now you've put two and two together as lazy. So again, you have to unlearn before you can learn. Oh, you can kind of do both, but you have to unlearn before you can implement what you learned. So you have the 90-second rule where you're pausing for 90 seconds before reacting. That's right. Pausing for 90 seconds before reacting. So somebody says or does something, you feel like you're in like, oh my God mode, sit. Okay. It's okay. Your body feels like you're going crazy. Your mind feels like we got to do this today, right now. Breathe. It's a minute and a half. 90-second rule. You do that before reacting. You got to urge surf riding the emotional wave like a craving. Don't feed it. Look at it as like a craving. Okay, I see it. You acknowledge it. You see it for what it is. Don't try to outrun it. Don't try to be like, oh my God, I feel so impulsive. Okay, we know this. Stop trying to outrun it. Don't feed it. Just look at it. Name it. Label your feelings because that reduces the power to it. Name it to tame it. Always remember that. Name it to tame it. Not to make it stop, not to make it go away, not to chase it away, not to never return again. Just label it. Label it. Don't try to fix it. Just be aware of it. That's it. And you have that boredom thing. In your mind, bored means I must fill a void. No. You got to practice doing nothing 5 minutes a day without distractions. That's going to be your homework. I mean, if you're willing to do it, because you can't say you want to get better. Oh, and then that's another thing. Don't do the 5-minute thing with the idea that all of a sudden you're going to be more patient or you're going to feel better. That's not why you meditate. That's not why you walk. That's not why you do anything to feel better. You are connecting. In turn, everything else falls into place as it will when it does. So if you're not willing to set a 5-minute timer, and don't give me any nonsense about, I don't have time. You got time. You got 5 minutes. You can do this. No distractions. Don't worry about where your brain goes. Don't worry about a racing mind. Don't worry about all of that. Set the timer. Zero distractions. 5 minutes a day. Now you got to do your box breathing. Do your deep breathing. Mindfulness is going to be one of the only things that keeps me off of the impulsivity and patience train on a regular basis. Cold water exposure. I like to, before I get out of the shower, and usually I take a cool shower anyway, no matter what it is outside, before I get out, I will sit for 20, 25 seconds, sometimes a minute, underneath brick cold water. I only have ever washed my face in cold water, and I will only ever wash my face in cold water. You can put cold ice water on your pressure points. You can hold ice in your hands. You can put your face in ice. You can do an ice plunge. That's it. That's fun. That's not fun, but it is for your system. Non-stimulating routines, walking, in my case, crocheting. Think of hobbies that are not in requirement of, I'm going to go make money on this, or I got to distract myself. And no, we're not doing that. Because you don't need more motivation, because motivation's fake anyway. You need to stop quitting every time things get hard. Stop it. And listen, I am not talking about relationships here, because people are going to tell you, don't quit when it gets hard. Yes, in theory. Sure, in theory, yeah, that's right. You don't want to impulsively quit something, but here's the deal. You see a pattern and you're checked out. Yes, it is time to go. But don't do it because you had an argument. That would be impulsive. But yes, you don't need more motivation. You need to stop quitting every time things get hard or boring, I should say. Now, here's how this works. Your trust is built of self when what you do is the boring thing, the pattern thing, the uncomfortable thing over and over again. That's how you build confidence. People say, well, how do you get more confident? You do the things you don't want to do. You do it scared. Just do it like Nike. Go buy 100 things of Nike. Put Nike swishes all over your room. Put a giant fathead of Michael Jordan jumping over your bed every day. I don't care what you need. I don't care what you need. But this is so important because until you're willing to sit in boring, you're willing to sit in uncomfortable, you're going to keep chasing a fast fix. You're going to keep listening to podcasts. You're going to keep buying sweatshirts. You're going to keep doing the things and you're going to go, yay, I feel inspired until you don't. And then you got to go get a hit again. The life you want is on the other side of emotional regulation and delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is your thing. Didn't say it's great in the beginning. Like I said, how do I delay my it sounds silly, but again, fall's very important to me. How do I delay my gratification for fall? I do little things. I have my pumpkin candle burning. I will burn that year round. I have my pumpkin waffles hand sanitizer. I have lotions. So I have just enough to be like, "Ah, cool, I have it." And then I sit in a present space. I do have a pool that took me 6.5 years to save for. So I will get in my pool. I love walking. So I sit there and I try to be very grateful of the time in the moment that I have. I have a crepe myrtle that had bark scales. It's a pain in the ass on crepe myrtles. And I really nurtured this year. I got grounds drench. I really worked with it, went out every day, made sure these little mite things weren't on it. And now she is blooming in high gear. She is beautiful. I took good care of her. So I go out there, I talk to her, and she's going to bloom in the warm weather. So I am going to appreciate it. That does not mean that I am not excited for fall. So I do just what I need to get me to stay mindful, stay present, but still have that joy. It's a joy flag. It's the green flags. It's the joy triggers. Because you're not able. You don't have a lack of ability. It's your lack of discipline. Discipline will never come from motivation. Discipline is going to always start in the pause. Pause, sit, breathe. I know for a fact if you're working with me, we are going to talk about the same thing over and over and over again. And then we can add little things in, and we're going to start that system again. And everything that you thought, hey, I got this under control now, you will suddenly all of a sudden go back in time. You're going to be like, oh man, how the hell did that happen? I thought I had the tools. You do. But you got to be put in a position. Your brain doesn't go, okay, girls, guys, here we are. We're good. No, it's not that. Because the biggest thing about your dopamine loop is that impulsive behavior, your polyvagal theory, emotional regulation and mindfulness. Dan Siegel's great on that. And these are the things, and it has been proven over and over again scientifically in spiritual practices that mindfulness is one of the best things and the most free things that you will ever give yourself on the planet. Period. It's been studied in everything from cultures to spirituality to science. Your problem is you're doing the things in hopes that you're going to feel better. I'm going to journal to feel better. I'm going to walk to feel better. I'm going to eat to lose weight. Stop. Stop it. Because this will be a constant cycle. And then guess what? You're going to fall in love with the cycle of the cycle, and you're going to keep being repetitive in the habits. So be kind to yourself. Be patient, but be persistent in the fact that you don't have to rush this process. Stop. So again, now you kind of know, and you know what you got to do. It's free. Sit in the boring. Sit there. Stop saying I need to get things done. No, you don't. Not every day, not all the time. So let's jump over to Patreon. Let's do this worksheet. You guys got this. Breathe, because it isn't going to be easy. It isn't going to be quick. And until you accept that, you're going to keep chasing a fast cycle.